The forest was dark and silent. Cold wind moved between the tall trees. Jack, a human explorer, walked carefully through the strange alien woods. His boots made light sounds on the frozen ground. He held a small scanner in one hand and a warm blanket in the other. He had seen something on his tracker heat. Someone was nearby. But it wasn't human. He followed the signal until he reached a cave hidden behind thick alien bushes. The scanner beeped faster. Jack took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air was cold. Water dropped from the ceiling. He saw nothing at first. Then he heard a soft sound, like someone crying. It was not a loud cry. It was quiet, like someone trying to hide their pain. "Hello?" Jack said, not too loud. There was silence. Then came a voice, shaking with fear. "Please, don't hurt me." Jack stopped. The voice was not human. It was soft like music, but broken with fear. He slowly raised his hands to show he had no weapons ready. "I won't hurt you," he said gently. "I promise." Something moved behind a large stone. Then he saw her, a young alien girl. She was small, maybe just over 5 feet. Her skin was soft blue, her hair long and tangled. Her eyes were bright and glowing, but full of fear. She wore torn clothes. Her arms had marks. Her legs were shaking. She looked cold, weak, and ready to collapse. Jack stepped back and placed the blanket on the ground between them. Then he sat down slowly and put the scanner away. "You can take the blanket," he said. "I'm not here to fight." The alien girl didn't move for a while. Her eyes watched him closely. Then she stepped forward slowly. Her hands were shaking. Her wrists had old iron chains, broken but still hanging. She reached for the blanket, then pulled it tightly around her shoulders. She didn't speak again, but her body stopped shaking so much. Jack looked at her quietly. So many questions filled his mind. Who was she? What happened to her? Why was she alone in this freezing place? "My name is Jack," he said softly. "I'm from Earth. I'm just here to explore." "I'm not your enemy." She looked at him. Her lips moved. "Saya," she said. "My name is Saya." Jack gave her a small nod. "It's good to meet you, Saya." Her eyes filled with tears again. She looked down, hugging herself. "You're the first person," she whispered, "who didn't hit me." Jack felt a sharp pain in his chest. He hated hearing those words. What kind of life had this girl lived? Who had hurt her so much that even kindness shocked her? He took out a water bottle and placed it on the ground near her. She looked at it, then at him. Slowly, she picked it up and drank. She drank like someone who hadn't had clean water in days. "Thank you," she said softly. Jack gave a kind smile. "You're safe now?" But was she? Something about her eyes told him she wasn't just hiding from the cold. She was running from someone or something. Jack looked toward the cave entrance. The wind howled outside. Snow was beginning to fall. It was not safe to travel in this weather. He looked back at her. "I have a small shelter not far from here," he said. "It's warm and safe. If you want, we can go there." Saya froze. Fear returned to her face. "I can't," she said. "They will find me. They always find me." "Who?" Jack asked. She looked away. "Bad people. I escaped, but they hunt me." Jack didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "If they come, I'll protect you." Saya looked at him with wide eyes. "Why? You don't even know me." "I don't need to," Jack said. "I know what fear looks like. And no one should be left alone in fear." Saya didn't speak. But slowly, she walked closer to Jack. She didn't touch him, but she sat near him close enough to feel his warmth. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like prey. Outside the cave, the snow fell harder. Shadows moved between the trees, and far in the distance, something watched, waiting, hunting. But inside the cave, Saya sat in Silence next to the human man. She still didn't trust him fully, but something told her this human was different. And for now, that was enough. Asterisk hunted and hiding. Zaya couldn't sleep. Even with the blanket around her and the soft fire Jack had built, her eyes stayed open. The sound of wind outside the cave reminded her of the night she used to hide in shipping crates, always afraid someone would open the lid and drag her out again. But this time was different. This time, someone had given her warmth instead of pain. Jack stayed awake too. He sat near the cave wall, fixing a small communication device with one hand and holding a stun pistol with the other. He knew danger was close. Saya's fear was not just from the past, it was fresh, and it was near. "How long have you been running?" he asked, his voice low and calm. Saya pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Her fingers touched the broken metal on her wrist. "Since I escaped the slaver ship. 8 days, maybe 9. Jack nodded. "You were brave to get this far." Saya shook her head. "No, I was lucky. One of the guards fell asleep. I stole the key, opened the cage, and ran when we landed on this planet. They didn't expect me to survive out here." "But you did," Jack said. She looked at him. "Only because you found me." For a moment, silence fell again. Then Jack leaned forward. "Why were they after you? There are many slaves out there. Why are they chasing you so hard?" Saya hesitated. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, "Because I'm not a normal slave. My blood is rare." Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" "I'm part of a bloodline," she explained. "A family once rich and powerful. My father was a royal guard. My mother was from the ruling house of Kelithor." Jack blinked. "So, you're a noble?" "I was," she whispered, "until my uncle sold me. He betrayed us after the war. The family was broken, and he wanted to hide me, erase my bloodline so he could rule." Jack leaned back, trying to process everything. He wasn't expecting a royal fugitive when he came to this planet. But it explained her fear, and the bounty hunters. If her bloodline was known, others might want to use her, marry her, sell her, or kill her. "You're still in danger," he said. "They won't stop," Saya nodded. "I know." Jack stood and walked to his bag. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A tiny map lit up, showing the mountain range they were in. "I have a hidden shelter 3 hours from here. Underground. They won't find us there." Saya didn't move. "I can't run anymore," she said. "I'm tired, Jack. I don't want to live like prey." Jack walked back to her and kneeled. "Then don't live like prey," he said. "Live like someone worth protecting." Saya's eyes filled with tears. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She had been treated like a tool, a prize, or a problem, but never as a person. "Why do you care?" she asked. Jack thought for a moment. Then he answered, "Because I've lost people too. My wife, my son. I couldn't protect them, but maybe I can protect you." Before she could reply, the sound came soft at first, then louder. A distant roar. Not from an animal. Engines.Sey stood up quickly. "They found me." Jack grabbed his stun pistol and pushed out the fire with his foot. The cave filled with darkness. "We leave now," he said. Together they moved into the snowy woods. Saya limped from an old wound, but Jack didn't rush her. He stayed close, watching the sky. A ship passed overhead, searching with red lights. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They'll stop when I make them," Jack replied. They reached a rocky cliff, and behind it, a hidden panel in the ground. Jack opened it and guided her into a tight metal tunnel that led into the earth. The entrance closed just as the red light passed overhead. Inside the tunnel, it was silent. Cold metal walls, narrow space, and dim lights guided the way. Jack walked first, checking for traps or signs of entry. Saya followed, her steps slow, but determined. Finally, they reached a heavy door. Jack opened it, and warm air came out. Inside was a small but safe room: beds, power, water, food, and weapons. Saya looked around in shock. "You built this?" Jack nodded. "I come to planets like this for peace. I didn't expect company." Saya sat on the bed and stared at him. "You could have left me," she said. "Why didn't you?" Jack took off his jacket and tossed it on a chair. "Because I'm not like them." For the first time, Saya smiled. Just a little, but outside, in the sky above, a signal was sent. A bounty had just doubled, and more hunters were coming. The night ambushed the silence in the underground. Shelter was heavy. Jack cleaned his weapon slowly, checking every part. Saya sat on the edge of the bed, holding a cup of warm water. Her fingers still trembled. Even after everything he did for her, she couldn't fully relax. Fear had lived inside her for too long. Jack glanced at her and said gently, "You're safe here. They won't find us underground." Saya nodded, but her eyes said otherwise. She didn't believe in safety anymore. Not after what she'd been through. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw chains, cages, cold hands grabbing her. Still, something about Jack made her feel less alone, but peace never stayed long. That night, while Jack was checking the cameras on his old computer, the screen blinked. A red light flashed. Movement. Something or someone was above them. Jack leaned closer. 3 heat signatures, then 5. Then 9. He stood up fast. "They're here?" Saya dropped her cup. It shattered on the metal floor. "No." "How?" "Did they find us?" she whispered. "They must have tracked your escape ship. Or maybe," Jack paused, "they picked up the heat from our campfire earlier." Saya looked like she was about to panic. Her breathing grew fast. "Hey," Jack said, placing his hands on her shoulders. "Listen to me. You are not alone this time. I've got traps set above. They won't get in without alerting us. We'll fight, but only if we have to." Saya's lips shook. "I don't want to fight. I'm not strong like you." Jack gave her a soft look. "You've survived this long, haven't you? That's stronger than any weapon." Then came the sound. Boom. A deep thud echoed from above. Dust fell from the ceiling. The enemy was trying to break through. Jack rushed to the weapon case and tossed a stun blaster to Saya. She shook her head. "I don't know how to use it." "You'll learn fast if needed," Jack said. The next blast was louder. The entrance tunnel shook. Then silence. Too quiet. Jack watched the door, pulse steady. Years of experience had trained him for this. But what he didn't expect was the sudden flash of sparks as a metal pipe blew open on the side. They were breaching from a blind spot. He grabbed Saya and pulled her to the far corner just as the sidewall exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. From the dust, tall figures stepped inside wearing black armor and glowing helmets. Their weapons were pointed, ready to fire. Saya froze. One of the armored men barked in a sharp alien language. Jack didn't wait to translate. He moved. His blaster fired once, twice, 3 times. 3 enemies fell before they even pulled their triggers. Saya ducked behind a crate, covering her ears as blasts echoed through the small space. More came in. Jack rolled to the side, shooting fast, dodging behind metal walls. His face was calm, his aim perfect. One hunter charged him. Jack grabbed a broken pipe and smashed it into the side of the man's helmet, knocking him out cold. But then one of the slavers spotted Saya. Target in sight. The creature yelled. Saya screamed as the enemy ran toward her. Jack turned and fired. 2. Late. The slaver reached her, but Saya raised the stun blaster Jack had given her. Her hand shook, but she pulled the trigger. The enemy dropped. Saya stared. At her own hands, shocked, Jack ran to her side. Good, you did it. But there was no time to breathe. A final figure stepped through the smoke. Bigger, meaner, not just a hunter, a commander. His voice was deep and cruel. Give her to me. Human, you can walk away. Jack aimed his weapon. I don't walk away from people who need me. The commander smiled. You're just a man, one human. You think you can stop all of us? Jack's eyes narrowed. I already have. Then, without warning, Jack pressed a button on his wrist device. Boom! The ceiling above the commander exploded, dropping heavy rocks and knocking him out. Silence returned. The smoke cleared, and Saya stared at Jack, eyes wide, mouth open. You're not normal, she whispered. Jack chuckled and wiped dust off his shirt. I get that a lot. Saya looked down at the stun blaster still in her hand. She had used it. She had helped. Did I really do that? She asked softly. Jack nodded. Yes, you were scared, but you still fought. That's called courage. Saya blinked away tears. No one had ever called her brave before. In that moment, something changed inside her. She still feared what was out there, but she no longer felt helpless. Not with Jack by her side. And deep inside the shadows of space, the Slaver commander ship sent out a message. The human is a threat. Increase all forces. Bring her back no matter the cost. Asterisk secrets of the past. Saya sat on the floor, staring at her hands. Her fingers still remembered the feel of the weapon's cold metal. She had never hurt anyone before. But last night, she had pulled the trigger to protect herself and Jack. The fear was still in her chest, but it was mixed with something new, power. For the first time in her life, she had fought back. Jack moved around the shelter, checking equipment and ceiling. The broken wall. His arm was bleeding from a cut, but he didn't stop. He had faced worse. What worried him more was the growing threat outside. These slavers weren't giving up. And now they knew Jack was dangerous. You need rest, Saya said, walking up to him with a clean cloth. She pressed it gently on his wound. Jack smiled. You're starting to sound like a soldier's wife. Saya blushed but didn't pull away. Maybe I'm just someone who doesn't want her only friend to bleed to death. They sat down together. By the small heater. Outside, snow continued to fall. Inside, the air was warm, but the silence between them grew heavy. There were still secrets in the room. Saya turned toward Jack. You risked your life for me again. You don't ask for anything, but I want to know. Who are you really? Jack looked at the ceiling for a moment, as if searching for the right words. I was once a soldier, he began. I served in the human outer forces. Years ago, we were sent to stop a war between two alien colonies. One side used innocent people as shields. The other side didn't care. We walked into a nightmare. Saya listened, quiet and still. I lost my whole unit, Jack continued. I came home broken. My wife, she waited. My son too. But I wasn't the same. I left them because I didn't want them to see the man I'd become. Since then, I just travel from one world to another, helping where I can. It's easier than staying still. Saya reached for his hand. You saved me. That tells me everything about the kind of man you are. Jack gave her a weak smile. And what about you? You said you were from a noble bloodline. What really happened? Saya took a deep breath. Her eyes looked distant, like she was remembering something painful. I was born in the city of Mirith. My father was a royal guard, brave and strong. My mother came from the ruling bloodhouse Dikaria. She was kind, powerful, and feared. I was their only child. But after the war ended, power changed hands. My uncle saw my bloodline as a threat. He betrayed my parents. My father was killed. My mother poisoned. I was taken. Hidden, sold. Her voice cracked. He said I was. Just a girl, not worth fighting for. But he feared me because of what I carry. Jack leaned forward. What do you carry? Saya looked down. A secret ability. It runs in the blood of the royal daughters. When fully awakened, we can command energy create force from within. But I never trained. I was taken too young. Jack thought back to the moment during the attack when Saya had screamed and the lights flickered. He remembered how the air had shifted. Maybe it wasn't fear alone. Maybe her power was beginning to wake. Does anyone else know? He asked. Saya shook her head. If they find out, they won't sell me. They'll use me to control, to destroy, to rule. Jack's face became serious. We need to leave this planet soon. But where will we go? She asked. I know a place, Jack replied. An old friend owns a small human outpost on a mining moon. No one from your world would look for you there. Saya looked at him with worry. What if they follow? Jack squeezed her hand. Then we don't run. We make them regret ever touching you. For the first time, Saya smiled with strength in her eyes. I won't be afraid anymore, not if you're with me. But outside the shelter, something crawled through the snow. A small black drone, no bigger than a rat, blinked with red lights. It had found them, and it was already sending their location to someone far more dangerous than slavers, someone who knew exactly what kind of blood Saya had. Asterisk, the bounty grows. The stars above the planet shimmered quietly, unaware of what was about to happen. Far away, deep in space, a large black ship hovered. In silence. Inside that ship, the slaver commander who had lost Saya twice slammed his metal fist on a control table. His voice shook with rage. She is still alive. And now the human protects her, he growled. A new bounty was posted on every known criminal and hunter network. Triple reward, alive only. Bring the girl and the human. Do not fail again. On the icy planet below, Jack and Saya didn't yet know that their faces were now seen across the galaxy. Inside the shelter, Jack studied a cracked photo in his hands. It showed a smiling woman with kind eyes and a boy who looked about 6. Standing beside him, Saya noticed and stepped closer. Is that your family? She asked softly. Jack nodded, his eyes distant. They were everything to me. What happened? She asked. They were taken, Jack said after a pause. During a raid by raiders I was chasing. I thought I was protecting others, but I left my own family open to danger. Saya's heart ached. You blame yourself. Every day, Jack replied. But helping others, it's the only thing that keeps me going. Saya sat beside him and touched the edge of the photo. You may not have saved them, Jack, but you saved me. For a moment, the room was quiet, filled with pain, but also healing. Suddenly, the shelter's alarm flashed red. Jack jumped to the console. What is it? The screen showed moving heat signatures. Dozens. Then a message appeared. Bounty issued. Human and female fugitive. Very high value. Jack stared at the screen. They raised the price on us. Every hunter in this sector will be looking now. Saya's face turned pale. They won't stop, will they? No, Jack said. Not until one of us dies, or both. He turned to her. We have to move. Now, Saya looked unsure. Where can we go? We can't hide forever. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. We don't hide. We outsmart them. They packed quickly. Jack grabbed extra weapons, emergency food, and a portable power cell. Saya took nothing except a small pendant she wore. Under her shirt, the only thing left. From her mother, they exited the shelter through a hidden tunnel that led deep into the mountains. Snow blew hard outside. The wind cut their skin. But they kept moving. Hours passed. They reached an old comms tower Jack had once repaired. It no longer worked fully, but its basement chamber could give them a short rest. Inside the cold steel room, Saya curled near the heater. Jack checked a tracking scanner he had brought. A red dot blinked on the edge of the screen, then 2, then 5. They were closing in. He turned to Saya. "I need you to tell me something," he said. "Back in the shelter, during the fight, you made the lights flicker. The air moved. That wasn't fear, was it?" Saya hesitated. Then she whispered, "I don't know how to control it, but when I feel strong fear or anger, things happen." Jack nodded. "It's your gift. It's waking up." "I'm scared of it," she said. "What if I lose control?" Jack placed a hand on her arm. "Then I'll be there to pull you back." Suddenly, the scanner beeped again. The dots were closer. "They're almost here," Jack said. "This place won't hold them." Saya stood up. "I won't run again." Jack looked at her, her chin lifted, eyes steady. "You don't have to. This time we stand together." They moved outside. Snow fell hard, covering their steps. Jack led her into a narrow rocky pass where he had prepared traps long ago. "Didn't know I'd use them," he said. "But maybe I was always waiting for a reason." Saya looked at him. "And now I am that reason?" Jack smiled. "Yes." As they hid in the rocks, Saya held her breath. In the distance, a group of hunters came through the snow. Tall, armed, ruthless. Jack aimed his rifle, but before he could fire, Saya stepped forward. Jack grabbed her wrist. "What are you doing?" "I'm tired of running," she said. "Let me try." She stepped into view. The hunters paused. Jack's heart pounded. Then the air around Saya shimmered. Her hair lifted. Her eyes glowed bright. The snow stopped falling for a moment, like time froze, and then the rocks behind the hunters exploded without her touching them. Jack stared in awe. Saya turned to him, surprised and scared. "I didn't mean to do that." Jack stepped beside her. "But you did, and it's just the beginning." Behind them, the mountain echoed with another sound. Ships. More were coming. And this time, it was not just bounty hunters. It was someone from Saya's past, someone who wanted to use her power or destroy her completely. The final stand. Snow drifted softly from the sky, but the mountains no longer felt peaceful. The ground was scarred with burned rocks and broken weapons. Jack and Saya stood at the edge of the ridge, their faces lit by the glow of distant ships landing. This wasn't another bounty squad. This was something worse. Something organized. "They sent royal hunters," Jack said as he looked through his binoculars. "Trained, armed, fast, not slavers. These are soldiers." Saya's hands trembled at her sides. "They've come for my blood. They know who I really am now." Jack turned to her. "Then we make sure they leave empty-handed." She looked at him, her voice quiet. "If I don't survive this, Jack, promise me you'll burn everything. My blood, my body, don't let them use me." Jack's jaw clenched. "You're not dying, not today." They returned to the old Combs Tower, now their battlefield. Jack began laying charges and traps with careful hands. He moved quickly, calmly, like he'd done it 1,000 times before. Saya watched him, amazed at how fearless he seemed. "You were made for war," she said. He stopped and looked up at her. "I hate war, but I'm good at protecting what matters." "And I matter?" she asked. "You do now," he said without hesitation. The sun had disappeared behind the clouds when the enemy came. A full squad of armored hunters moved through the snow, their helmets glowing red, weapons raised. A large ship hovered above them like a black cloud, casting shadows over the land. Saya stood behind Jack, her hands glowing faintly, now her power growing, alive and restless. The first trap exploded, throwing 2 soldiers into the air. Jack opened fire from a hidden corner, hitting 3 more. The battle had begun, but they kept coming. Saya moved to his side. "I want to fight." Jack hesitated. Only if you're sure. She nodded. Then something strange happened. As the soldiers closed in, Saya stepped forward, her hands stretched out. The snow around her lifted. The wind obeyed her. Light poured from her skin. She spoke a single word in her old royal language, and everything froze. The soldiers halted. Even the air seemed heavy. Then came a loud voice from above, full of power and venom. Sayandra Dikaria, the voice called. Your blood belongs to the Empire. Saya's face turned cold. That voice, I know it. From the landing ship, a tall figure stepped out, gold armor, dark eyes, and a cruel smile. My uncle, she said, her voice like stone. Jack raised his gun. Is he the one who sold you? Yes, she replied. He killed my father, burned my name. Now he wants my power. The uncle stepped closer. Come with me, child. Stop this foolishness. You are nothing beside me. Saya walked forward alone, the wind dancing around her. I may be nothing to you, but I am everything to myself. Suddenly, her body glowed with a bright blue light. She lifted her arms and the mountain roared. The enemy was thrown back by a wave of energy. Rocks split. Ice cracked. Jack shielded. His eyes. He had never seen anything like this. Saya turned toward him, eyes wide. I can't stop it. Jack rushed to her. Then let it go. Let it all out. She screamed, and the light burst from her like a storm. The ship above cracked in half. Soldiers fell to the ground, stunned. Even her uncle was thrown off his feet, his armor broken. When it was over, everything was quiet again. Saya dropped. To her knees, smoke rose from the land. The sky began to clear. Jack ran to her and caught her before she fell. I didn't know I had that power, she whispered weakly. Jack held her close. You had it all along. You just needed a reason to use it. Behind them, her uncle crawled toward a weapon. Jack stood up and fired once. Cold and clean. It was done. No more slavers. No more hiding. Only snow, silence, and the sound of Saya. Breathing in his arms. Asterisk safe in the human's arms, the snow had stopped falling. The sky above the mountains slowly turned from gray to soft blue. Morning had arrived. But for Jack and Saya, it felt like the end of a long, painful night. Smoke still rose from the ruins of the crashed enemy ship. Broken armor, melted weapons, and frozen bodies lay scattered across the rocky land. But none of that mattered now. What mattered was the girl in Jack's arms still breathing. Saya opened her eyes slowly. Her body felt heavy, like it had given all its strength to the wind and sky. Her fingers were numb, her head dizzy, but the warmth she felt wasn't from the sun. It was from the arms that held her. You stayed, she whispered. Jack looked down at her, a soft smile on his face. I told you. I'm not letting you go. I thought I lost control, she said. I was scared I'd hurt you too. Jack shook his head. You didn't hurt me. You saved both of us. He helped her sit up against a stone. Her energy was weak, but her spirit was strong. She looked over the destroyed battlefield, then at the body of the man who had haunted her. Dreams, her uncle, now just another broken figure in the snow. It's over, she whispered. Jack nodded. Yes, no one will chase you anymore. Saya looked at him for a long time. I don't know who I am without running. Jack reached into his bag and pulled out a small packet of dry food. He offered her a piece, and she smiled before taking it. You're someone who survived, he said, and now you get to live. She chewed slowly, looking thoughtful. Where will you go now? She asked. Jack glanced at the sky. I have a friend on the mining moon. We can rest there, plan the next move. Maybe start over. We? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Jack looked at her. If you want me to stay with you. Saya didn't answer right away. Instead, she leaned her head against his shoulder. I do, she whispered. I feel safe with you." The moment was quiet and full of peace. No alarms, no hunters, no fear. Just two people, one human, one alien who had lost everything, yet found something new in each other. Later that day, they reached the old escape pod Jack had hidden near the mountain base. It was small, rusty, and barely working, but it could fly. As the pod rose into the sky, leaving the planet behind, Saya watched the world below shrink into the distance. "I used to think all humans were cruel," she said softly. "Slavers told me you were violent and cold," Jack smirked. "Some are, but not all." She looked at him with warm eyes. "You were the first person to touch me without hurting. The first to protect me without asking anything in return." Jack replied gently, "You were the first to remind me I still had something worth protecting." They flew in silence for a while. The stars looked endless ahead of them. "Jack," Saya said, "can I ask one more thing?" "Of course." "When I first met you, I said, 'Please don't hurt me.'" Jack nodded. She smiled softly. "But all you did was hold me with kindness." "Why?" Jack took her hand in his. "Because no one else did. And you deserved better." Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time. Love, kindness, home. As the stars welcomed them forward, and the past faded behind them, one truth remained. Saya was no longer just a hunted girl, and Jack was no longer just a wandering man. Together, they were survivors. Together, they were free. And together, they had begun something beautiful.